Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Govindana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yamuna Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya
Prabhupada
Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada,
Jaya
Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya
Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Oh, the
Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Rajga Saja Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sirabai Charan Narvin Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Skan BBT Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Daini Thaigora Pimananda Dev. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Narayanam namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraya.
Tato Jaya Mudiraya.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasha Badreshu
Nashta Prayasha Badreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Tamasloke
Bhagavate Uttama Sloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and a loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised by transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Dhanyam Swasyanam Mahal.
Dhanyam Swasayanam Maha.
This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantharaj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant that for the ultimate good of all people, it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Advaita Gadadhar
Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Asurabhyaya Namaha
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Asurabhyaya Namaha
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha
Om Asurabhyaya Namaha
Mukham karoti vasalam tvagom langayate girim Yatkripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Yatkripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We are continuing our reading and study of Srimad Bhagavatam Canto number 1, chapter 12.
12
Set.
last verse. 35.
35, huh? Okay. 35. Yes. Oh.
Two verses were left, but last verse have no verse.
Okay, so we will do 35 and 36, and this will conclude this chapter. So text 35, chapter 12, entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna Yajayitva Dvijayar Nripam Uvasa Katichin Masan Suridam Priya Kamyaya Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna Yajayitva Dvijayar Nripam Uvasa Katichin Masan Sridham Priya Kamyaya Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna Yajayitva Dvijayar Nripam Uvasa Katichin Masan Suridam Priya Kamyaya Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna Yajayitva Dvijayar Yajayitva Dvijaya Nripam
Rajayitva Dvijayarnipam
Uvasa Katichin Maasan
Uvasa Kati Chinnamasan
Sridham Priya Kamyaya
Sridham Priya Kamyaya
Ahuto Bhagavan Yajna
Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna
Yajayitva Dujarnipam
Yajayitva Dvijaya Nripam
Uvasa Kati Chinmanasan
Uvasa Kati Chinmanasa
Surdam Priya Kamyaya
Sridham Priya Kamyaya
Ahuto Bhagwan Rajana
Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna
Jaitva Dujair Nipam
Yajayitva Dvijaya Nripam
Uvasa Katichin Matmasana
Uvasa
Vasan
Kati
Katichin
Chinmasan
Masan
Suhridam Pratikamyaya
Suridam Priya Kamyaya
Ahuto Bhagavan Rajnya
Ahuto Bhagavan Rajna
Rajayitva Dujarnipam
Yajayitva Dvijaya Nripam
Uvasa Kati Chinnamasa
Uvasa Katichin Masan
Suhidam Priya Kamyaya
Suridam Priya Kamyaya Ahutaha
Arutaha
being called by
being called by
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Lord Kṛṣṇa
Lord Kṛṣṇa,
the personality of Godhead
the personality of Godhead,
Rajna
Yajna,
by the king
by the king,
Yajayitva
Yajayitva,
causing to be performed
causing to be performed,
Vijay
Vijay,
by the learned Brahmanas
by the learned Brahmanas,
Nripam
Nirpam,
on behalf of the king
on the behalf of the king,
Uvasa
Uvasa,
resided
resided,
Katichit
Katichit,
a few
few,
Masan
Masan,
months
months,
Suridam
Suridam,
for the sake of the relatives
for the sake of the relatives,
Priyakamyaya
Priyakamyaya,
for the pleasure.
for the pleasure.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Sridham Mayapur ki.
Jai Shri Prabhupada
Ki
ki
Jai.
Jai.
Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, saw to it that they were performed by qualified, twice born brāhmaṇas. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained a few months. Kindly repeat after me. Lord Sri Krishna,
Lord Sri Krishna,
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of Godhead,
being invited
being invited
to the sacrifices
to the sacrifices
by Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira,
by Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira,
saw to it
saw to it
that they were performed
that they were performed
by qualified twice-born brāhmanas.
by qualified Brahmanas.
After that,
After that,
for the pleasure of the relatives,
for the pleasure of the relatives,
the Lord remained a few months.
the Lord remained few months.
Purport. Lord Sri Krishna was invited by Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira to look into the supervision of the performances of yajña, and the Lord, to abide by the orders of his elderly cousin, caused the performance of yajñas by learned twice-born brāhmanas. Simply taking birth in the family of a brāhmana does not make one qualified to perform yajñas. One must be twice born by proper training and initiation from the bona fide acharya. The once born shyans of Brahmana families are equal with the once born Shudras, and such Brahmana bandhus or unqualified once born shyans must be rejected for any purpose of religious or Vedic function. Lord Sri Krishna was entrusted to look after this arrangement, and perfect as he is, he caused the yajñas to be performed by the bona fide twice-born brāhmanas for for successful execution. And we have the last text actually of this chapter, which is text 36, without any purport, so we will read this as well. Tato rajna bhyanugnaktaha
Tato rajna vibhungatah
Krishnaya saha bandhubihi
Krishnaya saha bandhuvi
Yayao dvaravatim brahman
Yayurvarvati brahman
Sarjuno yadubhir vritaha.
Sarjuno yadubhirvita.
O Shonaka, thereafter the Lord, having bade farewell to King Yudhiṣṭhira, Draupadi and other relatives, started for the city of Dwarka, accompanied by Arjuna and other members of the Yadu dynasty. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. So reading the translation again to 35, Lord Kṛṣṇa, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, saw to it that they were performed by qualified, twice born brāhmaṇas. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained a few months. So the subject matter is in relation with the performance of yajna, or sacrifices, and the importance of having qualified brāhmanas, qualified twice born brāhmanas. The best of the twice born, the best of the twice born brāhmanas are actually Vaishnavas. So the whole Vedic culture is based on proper training and education. The whole human form of life actually is meant for that purpose. It's not possible to train or educate people, rather to train and educate living entities in lower species of life in transcendental subject matters. We can train them to do different tricks or whatever. So that is the what is the purpose of performing yajna, or sacrifice? Ultimately, it is yes, to please to please the Supreme Lord. When we perform sacrifice, we just like now we will be performing. Now that we have our yajna shala completed in operation, so yesterday there was one yajna. We can expect to have more yajnas. Of course, main activity for all yajna, of course, is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So many other mantras are chanted, of course, but always in the background we have generally a group of devotees who are chanting the holy name. So here Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj actually requested the Lord, who was present, to be present for this performance of yajna, and requested him to see to the proper standard of the performance of yajna. So maintaining or establishing standards is a very important aspect within our own individual lives and also within general society. There needs to be proper standard. What people, just like yesterday, after the morning program at the national school, there was a program at the national school yesterday. Dr. Lila Purushottam, he's director of IIT, what is it?
IIT Mandi.
Mandi. People in India know what is IIT Mandi. I'm not from India, so I don't know what is IIT. I know what is IIT, but Mandi is place.
Yes. Like IIT Mumbai, IIT Delhi.
Okay, Mandi is like a place. Where's that place? Mandi. I mean, you know, what state? It's in India, right?
Yes, in India.
So he was organizing like for the last few days. Today's our last day, and so he had asked me to give Bhagavatam class there yesterday at the national school, and it's quite interesting. A good number of devotees were there, over 500 devotees, and what was interesting is that some of the boys, some of the students, which state?
Himachal Pradesh.
Oh, Himachal Pradesh, huh? Okay, quite north. Yeah. So some of the students who are doing masters and PhD, studies, they came in the afternoon actually, and they had a few questions. And so one of the students was telling, does that mean that all that we have learned so far from what from the lecture and the discourse that was presented regarding the Vedic sciences? The Vedic science is actually the standard in terms of knowledge, isn't it? And these Vedic sciences are not taught in modern education, in college, schools and colleges. And therefore, that is why also Srila Prabhupada was so often critical of the modern educational system, because it's not according to standard. Isn't it? So everything in the Vedic culture is meant to be the standard. Prabhupada, when he would visit temples, he expected the highest standards, isn't it? And it's only brāhmaṇas. Brāhmaṇas are the ones who are meant to set the standards in society, beginning with themselves. Brāhmaṇas don't take salary, right? Prabhupada would say, what is this? Teachers going on strike, to get more money. They're not teachers. Actual teacher, it doesn't teach for money, isn't it? That is the standard for teacher. That is unknown. It is unknown in modern day society, isn't it? I mean, practically everything in modern day society is unknown. We're like babies, having. So this is. This is a whole aspect or dimension that gradually needs to be introduced and nicely explained, that there is such a thing as standard knowledge. There is something as absolute knowledge. Most people today, most people who are so-called educated, intellectuals, scientists, they don't believe in something that is absolute. And when we ask them, and we should ask them, we should challenge them, are you absolutely certain about that? Then they cannot answer actually, because their philosophy is that nothing is absolute. So their stand or their position regarding that there is no absolute is not absolute. That is their mental speculation. So that is why in Vedic culture and in Vedic knowledge, the beginning of knowledge is to understand that there is something that we call absolute knowledge. There are rules and regulations, material nature, this material world operates or functions based on laws, the laws of nature. And when we, either due to ignorance or due to being stubborn, we don't follow the laws of nature, then we suffer ultimately, isn't it? So here Lord Krishna was asked by Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj to be present and to oversee the proper execution of the yajna. And Prabhupada is pointing out this fact that it is not sufficient to be born in a Brahmana family. Even those who are born in Brahmana families that are coming down in proper lineage, they also must receive training and education. So that is very much what is missing in modern day society. And the more we understand this, then the more we can convince people of the need to establish and introduce. And that is one of our main functions and responsibilities as devotees and as a society. And it's centered on these two levels of education. Actually, there's three aspects which are pretty well unknown and practically unseen in modern day society. Traditional Brahmana education, traditional Gurukula, because Brahmanas study in a setting that is called Gurukula, and then something that Srila Prabhupada introduced, which in many ways was not needed when the Vedic culture was in place, which is Varnashram college. When Vedic culture is in place, you don't need Varnashram college. Because it's not in place, Prabhupada introduced the concept of Varnashram college, because that is meant especially for the elder folks, young men, whereas when the Vedic culture is in place, then there are basically two levels of education. What are those two levels of education? Or two?
You thought three.
Yeah, I mentioned three because Prabhupada introduced a third one. But what I'm saying is that when that third one is not there, then there are two. 3 minus 1 is 2. Huh? Formal and non-formal. Yeah, there's formal, non-formal, and informal.
I think Paravidya and Aparavidya.
That is there, but that's not exactly what I'm referring to. Non-formal and non-formal. What is formal Vedic education? Gurukula.
Like
And
academics.
yes, where academics are like the focus. And academics is meant mainly primarily for the Brahmanas, and can also be taken up by Kshatriyas because they also must spend many years in Gurukula. So Gurukula primarily for the Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. And so that is formal education. Non-formal education, what is the actual standard? What is meant to be formal education for the vast majority of people? Especially, let's focus on the young boys who are not from, let's say, Brahmana or Kshatriya background.
Through something like practical experience, just like yesterday we were discussing this is the actual system. Means in the purport to 10:11:37, purport has mentioned children going, means boys going on field with cows, taking care of cows is a system of
Yes, yes. That was a purport we were reading yesterday, 10:11:37, where Prabhupada explains that actually in Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram and their friends, they every day, when they are reaching a certain age, which is about 6 or 7, they are given the responsibility of small calves. By nature, calves are small. Of calves or small cows. And Prabhupada, just in one short line, just establishes this is Vedic education. And this is like a very, to me, it's like a very, it's not an obvious, not obvious to immediately understand what that means, because our concept of education is very different. Unless you have a building, a school, a table and a chair and a blackboard, it's not education, it's not school. But actually, we hear actually some people in modern day, there are different systems that people, even some centuries back, they introduced education that is closer to nature. I won't name some of the, there are some famous schools that are operating today that are very different from the ordinary schools that are there. But we're talking about standard because this is in relation to the purport this morning. So the standard education, and we're so far removed from that standard education that we cannot grasp, we cannot understand what that means, and we cannot understand also how to introduce that type of education. And that is, specifically that type of education can only be introduced. Hey, he doesn't know. Uneducated. That type of education can only be introduced if the majority of people live in villages. That's why village life is the norm. Village life is the standard. See, that we don't understand. The modern understanding, misunderstanding, is that actually now we have become modern. We have become advanced. So we have graduated, so to speak, from village life, which is considered like undeveloped and whatnot, which is a fallacy. Traditional Vedic life is not undeveloped, rather the opposite. People who live in that environment and who are, guided by qualified brāhmaṇas, especially who are guided by qualified Vaishnavas, they, in that village environment, they can attain the highest perfection of life, isn't it? As a matter of fact, it is that environment that more easily facilitates, and to use Prabhupada's word in the purport we read quite some weeks back, that not only facilitates but accelerates one's spiritual emancipation. Accelerate. If you're going in a car and you press on the pedal, you accelerate, go faster. Yeah. So this is what Prabhupada was commenting on the first instruction given by Grandfather Bhishmadev to Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj when he told him about, okay, the beginning is that you have to arrange the system in society where there are these natural, social, and spiritual divisions, Varna and Ashrama. And Prabhupada said this is meant to accelerate, to increase, to more quickly come to where we want to go, which is to develop our spiritual identity and finish our business once and for all in the material world, bring a permanent solution. Nowadays, we're not at all bringing anything permanent. Well, maybe permanent misery is what we have become expert in doing in modern day society. Because the more we deviate, the more we continue to deviate from what is meant to be the standard, then we will simply continue our miserable condition. We'll continue to suffer, isn't it? So therefore, the Vedic sciences, we need to become convinced, and most of our devotees are not, because most of them don't know about what are the standard Vedic sciences. Yeah, one of the questions that there were four students. He was asking, well, what about technology? We need technology. Well, Vedic culture is not against technology, but Vedic culture is against the type of technology that we have today that was introduced with the Industrial Revolution. Is called hard technology as opposed to soft technology. The technology we cannot avoid, but there is, plowing the field, there's a technology involved there, looking after bullocks and making them, pull, for example, bullock cart. There's a whole technology, but that is soft technology. No one is stressed and no one is abused, etc. like that. There's no destruction. But in modern, in hard technology, which is the standard, what is actually destructive has become the standard in modern day society. We are increasing, in pretty well all the countries of the world. We're thinking to become advanced, we need to increase the number of cars and the number of roads. But the more roads we increase, we destroy more and more of nature, etc. like that. So therefore, none of this can be properly understood unless we begin with basics, and that's how when we go to Gurukul or go to Varnashram college, the first level of teaching, first level of understanding, first level of education are the basics in terms of tattva. That's why Anvikshiki, which is the science of philosophy, is teaching us tattva. Right? Bhagavad Gita has 5 tattvas. Srimad Bhagavatam has 10 tattvas, 10 subject matters. So like this, tattva is like essential to have a basic foundation which will facilitate and enable us to understand more detailed information, both of a spiritual nature as well as of a material nature. Yeah. So that is, to a large extent, where we need to actually focus as individuals and as a society also. We need to educate ourselves, we need to train ourselves to come to the Vedic standard. Vedic standard. Prabhupada's whole mission is to bring us back to reestablish a Vedic culture, where there is a standard, and if you're in keeping with the standard, you will automatically make progress. Yena chatma prasidati. All haitukiya pratihata yajatma suprasidati. All of our material, emotional, social, spiritual needs and necessities of life will easily and automatically be met. And the opposite is true. When we don't follow the standard, then everything we endeavor is a formula for disaster. True or not true?
True.
True. Yes. So the other point that is mentioned here is that Lord Kṛṣṇa, who was invited to stay, he because Krishna, the devotees are, yes, always endeavoring to please the Lord, and the devotee Krishna is also likes to please his devotees, so he decided to stay longer. He's been trying to go to Dwarka now for a long time, for the last few chapters,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And yeah.
He enters Dwarka in 11th chapter.
Yeah, actually, there was some description of Krishna entering Dwarka.
Yes.
10th chapter.
You say he came back by the invitation of Yudhiṣṭhira.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, came back. Okay. For the yajna
But in the
perform.
Bhagavad is
Yes,
not
for the-
clear when was the yajna made, because after Bhishma's teaching, there is very short at the end of the chapter, then everything happened and then Krishna left.
Okay.
But it's not clear.
When he came.
He went and came back.
Yeah.
He should be came back because the queens also was there. So he brought some
His entourage.
So he went after
Okay.
the Kurukshetra because the queens was not with him
Mm.
when he was fighting.
Right.
So after the fight, he should go back and then came for the yajna to perform.
Right. Yes.
That is not details.
Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Half of the time Krishna lives in Indraprastha, not in Dwarka.
Because he's with his friends.
Yeah, it's not easy for a Lord, the Supreme Lord, to fulfill his desires because many others are asking different things.
Yeah, there's a heavy competition. Yeah.
His own desires sometimes he couldn't fulfill.
Yeah.
In one sense.
Yeah, just like in Jagannath Puri, Krishna, not Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is being pulled all the time. Please come, please come.
And he wanted to go to Vrindavan in 2 years.
Yeah, it took him 2 years to go to Vrindavan.
Just
Next month will be better. Next
Yeah.
month.
Vijayadashmi. On Vijayadashmi.
no way.
Yeah, amazing. Correct. Yeah.
That's love.
Yes.
Where is these terms of soft and hard technologies coming from? I never heard in this kind of. I understand the principle.
Right. Yeah.
I never heard that this is explained in this way.
Yes. I heard it. I forget from where exactly, but it's quite, I think, quite commonly used. That yeah, it's exactly who coined that I don't know, but it's quite commonly used and understood that the modern day technology, because it is it's very expensive. For example, that's one of the reasons there's a major crisis in India regarding suicide amongst farmers, because they borrow money to get a tractor, and they can't, pay back that money and whatnot. And because of the culture in India, the culture is like if you can't honor a promise or like this, then it's like people major problem for the last 2 decades actually. So so I don't really know exactly where it comes from, but it's been around for quite some time. Hard technology, soft technology. So Vedic culture is say the opposite, right? Hard technology is expensive and destructive and very, very dangerous, isn't it? People like in factories, people who work in with machines, they lose a hand very easily, or they get so many kinds of accidents are there. Yeah, I mean, every day, people who fly, they're risking their lives.
Yes. Yeah.
Anytime you get in a car, you're risking your life.
Recently, the big accident happened in Jaipur.
Huh?
Recently, a big accident happened in Jaipur.
Yeah. Well, accidents are happening all the time. Yeah.
Every moment there is accident involved. Every moment there is accident.
Every
moment there is accident involved.
yes.
Yes.
Padam. Everybody. Yeah, correct. It is a place of accidents. Material world is a place of yes.
After hearing that accidents of so many trains, I am feared to get into the
In the
train.
train, right? Well, because the standard is based on standard, right? Because nowadays people are more distracted. It's like you used to hire a chauffeur. Like in India, it's common you have a driver, and you drive your car. Nowadays, the driver is busy on his cell phone. I mean, everybody is busy on their cell phone, and so very easily people are distracted. So when you're operating a train, and you're addicted to your phone or something, then there's I'm sure somebody has did some survey on this. There's an increase in accidents, and it will continue to be like that as long as we continue to be less and less alert to what we are doing, yeah, that's confirmed also in the Bhagavad Gita. Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vitetasa rakshasi masurim saiva mohinim prakritim sritaha. That can simply be explained also that the more we are under the influence of Maya, then things just fail. So that's one more reason. That's why Prabhupada was very firm and very clear and very strong in telling that bullock cart is sufficient. Yeah, especially if we live in the country, there's no need for car.
What all those who want to came to Mayapur from this country?
They enjoy the
people who want to come to Mayapur from other countries.
Other countries, other states.
Yeah, they don't have to come to Mayapur.
Vrindavan?
Nor Vrindavan. I mean, people, hundreds of years ago, people were coming to India. I mean, not from America, because in America, there was nobody in America. Right? America was only discovered a few hundred years ago.
Yes.
And so actually the population, it's always been, even now, if you look at the percentage of the population, it's mostly in Asia, Asian countries, because that's according to Shastra, we should live in places where mangoes and papayas and such kind of tropical fruits are available. You don't find many mangoes in Canada. They don't grow. All you get is what has been shipped, over a 1 month period, and what you get is just full of chemicals and whatnot. So that's also standard. There's a standard place on the planet where people are meant to live. We're not meant to live everywhere. Yes.
After you living in this place,
Yes.
how can he Srimad Bhagavatam class and Chaitanya Charitamrita class?
Prabhu's here. And all of you have to start reading and giving. Yes.
Speaker of the Bhagavatam, just share whatever you
Yes.
know. It's not necessarily someone highly educated person should
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
You don't need a PhD to give Bhagavatam class. Yeah.
It's also training. Also training. If you want to, convince people, you have to be trained.
Yeah.
It's one of the training. Then
Yes.
Prabhupada asked his disciples to give public lessons.
Yeah. Even Prabhupada asked
He was
devotees to give class in his presence as well.
Yes, Yamuna
To give class, to
India.
sing also. Yeah. Mr. Ishwarapuri.
Yes, we were kind of discussing on formal, non-formal.
Kind of. We're not kind of.
We stopped
Wait.
in between after the non-formal education.
Ah.
So I just would like to have to continue on informal.
Formal, non-formal, and informal. Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, we spoke about formal, non-formal. So informal means every day by interacting with people, by hearing from others, just ordinary interaction, we acquire knowledge, isn't it? If we read some book, we acquire knowledge in this way. If we hear from someone, if we hear some information, if we have different kind of experience, whatever, we go to the airport, we see whatever, flights canceled, we get all kinds of informal. That's informal. It means everyone, informal education is happening all the time for everyone, right?
Where do we fit in things like apprenticeship?
Apprenticeship, that's non-formal. Apprenticeship and skills, that is non-formal. Means you don't have to go sit behind the desk. If you sit behind the desk, you won't develop too many skills.
Yeah.
So skills, apprenticeship is what they call on-the-job training, by association, by seeing, by observing. And that is meant to be the kind of education for the vast majority of people. Because the vast majority of people are simply not intellectually inclined to sit behind or to sit anywhere, whether it's behind a desk or under a tree, and to intellectually deepen their understanding of something. The majority of people are just not meant for academic education. That's the way it is, especially in Kali Yuga. So it's not a problem. We don't need to be, academics. We don't need to take up academic education to go back home, back to Godhead. Fortunately.
When in modern schools they are teaching children for mathematics for many hours, and after they come out and they play and they forget it.
Yes.
They just have to, prepare for exams.
Yes.
To regain, to get back something. This is very hard for them.
Yes.
Because learning means you hear something and you immediately apply.
Right.
And
Yes.
that is the learning, not otherwise. A few years later, you get some.
Yeah. Most of what we have learned in school is like, how much of that do we? Yeah, right. It's like in and out kind of. But mathematics, as an exercise, helps to the brain actually to think in certain ways. There are certain subjects that are helpful, more helpful, let's say, than others.
Like the principles of playing or the chance. That's good for understanding.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's a little bit materialistic.
I see that is one area which is meant to be especially the main activity for young people. Like Krishna and Balaram, a lot of games, what they call Krishna Krida, the traditional games that that allow this spontaneous, natural interaction between boys of the same age. This point is also emphasized by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur when he speaks on the question of Varna identification. They're very important for young boys to have this natural interaction with boys of their own age, because in that kind of environment, there's all kinds of exchanges that are meant to take place, which are helpful for us to, for example, to share with others, or to be attentive to the needs of others. So many different aspects in terms of what we call character formation. Most important in the beginning, actually in Gurukul, is to facilitate that young boys develop a good character, and that they are connected with spiritual subject matters. So whether it's hearing, whether it's temple activities, and with nature. I was happy to hear yesterday that because there were devotees, as a matter of fact, I think the principal from Vrindavan was also here, one Mataji. She was mentioning how in the Gurukul they have the boys, it's like a standard activity of doing gardening and doing some seva with the cows and being with nature and whatnot. Because majority of the boys, that's what in the future they should be actually doing.
This is a very strong statement of Prabhupada, twice born.
Twice born?
Yeah, the Dvija.
Yes.
And we have this initiation system in ISKCON, which we say first, second initiation. But really, what is the change in the consciousness, which is the most important when we say, okay, the person is really initiated.
Yes.
Not just have a name and have a practice to serve for a guru, but what is in the consciousness, really the difference between the twice born Vaishnava or the general Vaishnava?
Twice born Brahmana or twice born Vaishnava, in our ISKCON society, for the majority of us, twice born is, we think of Brahmana. But in the Vedic culture, of course, twice born means not only Brahmana, but Kshatriya and Vaishya. They're all meant to be, these are the three categories of individuals. So it means that, and this is something that needs to be introduced in the system of Varnashrama college, it means that one actually realizes and has an opportunity to take up the responsibilities in one of these three categories. Right now in ISKCON we have only Brahmana category. And because we have not introduced Varnashrama college, we don't realize, we don't understand, and we don't know how also to train individuals to become responsible within these three categories. And therefore, Dvija means who has that close connection with the Guru in terms of understanding his particular simultaneous spiritual and material role. Because all the twice born have spiritual, just like there are 6 mandatory activities that the twice born are meant to do, isn't it? The three are mandatory and 3 are, we could say, not mandatory. So the twice born are, they are meant to be the natural leaders in society who will lead people both in terms of material and spiritual knowledge. We are lacking this understanding presently, actually, within our ISKCON society, because we're not training individuals to be twice born in terms of Kshatriyas, nor are we training them to be twice born in terms of Vaisya.
But using the word born
Yes,
means a new life, practically, a new identity.
yes.
What is this new identity?
The new identity is to understand that we have specific spiritual and material duties to perform as a twice born. For example,
Forget the previous one, like previous identity, because the previous birth I have some identity. So if I get a new birth,
right?
I forget it. Practically, it's
Yes. Well,
totally new.
the yes. So the first identity is being born of mother and father, right? Yeah. When one becomes twice born, then one is able to transcend that first birth and to understand that that I have as